am Holly Madison, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hi, this is William Shatner, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
What's up, everybody? It is the Vegas Take on a Wednesday. Sharp and Shapiro, so glad you could join us. Yeah, it is hump day, and we're going to have a lot of fun today. Oh, yeah. I promise you we're going to have a lot of fun today. A lot to get to in the world of news, politics, sports, you name it. And, as you know, we've had Michael Avenatti on the show every week for the last 6 weeks or so, and it's gone pretty well. And we all announced a few weeks ago that we were going to have him on for a full hour now every Wednesday called In the Ring with Michael Avenatti. And since this is the first Wednesday that we are doing this, Mr. Michael Avenatti himself has been nice enough to be in studio, joining us for the entire show today. And it's good to have you here, Michael. Thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Excellent. I'm excited.
Let's
get on with it.
I was just saying this is a little different than one of those 6-7 minute TV segments, right? You're here for 120 minutes straight. It's a long time.
I'm going to try to go the distance. We'll see if I've got the endurance. You guys have been doing this a lot longer than I have, but I'll probably be able to hold my own.
I think you will. Something tells me you will.
This is an outlier 2-hour in the ring special.
Yes, it is. And, we're going to get to all the people that refuse to get into the ring with you. I like to call them cowards. I know you do, too. We'll get to that in a little bit. Thank you so much for being here. I want to start with a local story. We've talked about this a little bit with you before. I mentioned that I had a brief phone conversation with Brandon McCoy the other day. And, of course, he's claiming that you're not telling the truth. He says that he knows the truth about these alleged payments. He also said that he really doesn't care what you have to say, doesn't bother him at all. So I said, Brandon, why don't you come in studio then and debate Michael on the air about this and have the opportunity to defend yourself? Because if somebody said something about me that wasn't true, I'm not saying you are, I would want to defend myself. And he referred me to his agent, and he has not responded to my text since. So for people here in Las Vegas, Michael, can you explain to us in whatever detail you can about this specific story with UNLV and Brandon McCoy? What can you tell us?
Yeah, look, there's no question that Brandon McCoy was paid by way of illegal bribes routed from Nike in order to come to UNLV, period. And we have previously provided, I have posted the text messages, the documentation that shows those payments. Now, people can think whatever they want to think about me and statements that come out of my mouth. But unless somebody can legitimately claim that these documents have been doctored or fabricated, which they haven't, the documents do not lie. It's just that simple. He obtained thousands of dollars to come and play at UNLV. Now, he wouldn't even have to come here and debate me. He could just show up and discuss it. Mm-hmm. Or he could point out outside of this context, outside of this arena, why those payments in his mind are bogus or did not occur. There's no question that they occurred, and there's no question that Brandon McCoy is one of hundreds of players around the country who were bribed to attend Nike colleges. Those are colleges that had relationships with Nike for apparel deals, etc. And ultimately, I am confident that the truth is going to come out about this bribery scheme, and it's going to make that Adidas case look like a warm-up lap, look like nothing.
And you have a court date set for this case.
Well,
correct?
I have a court date set in connection with this allegation that I attempted to extort Nike, which I absolutely vehemently deny, and I'm confident that once the relevant evidence is put before a jury and a jury hears what really happened and hears the totality of these alleged audio recordings and video recordings they have. I'm not talking about snippets. I'm talking about the totality. I'm confident that I'm going to be exonerated in connection with that case.
Now, obviously, you're defending yourself there, but in regards going to what we were just talking about, will we ever see bank records, financial records? Will that ever come out so the public can see this evidence that you claim you have in regards to not just Brandon McCoy, but all these athletes?
Well, a lot of that evidence has already come out. I think there's 40-plus pages, detailed pages of documents and the like showing these payments. So I'm confident that that's going to be addressed at some point in a more thorough manner, and there's going to be additional evidence and documents that come to light.
This might be a tough question for you to answer, but certainly it's an important question for us to know here in Las Vegas. At the time, Marvin Menzies was the head coach. He's not the head coach here anymore. Do you have any knowledge of whether or not Marvin Menzies knew, or anyone on the coaching staff, or at UNLV for that matter, knew about these payments?
I think ultimately the evidence is going to show that there's no question that officials with UNLV knew or had significant reason to believe that Brandon McCoy had been paid to come to the university and either turned a blind eye to it or looked the other way because it was better for the program. No one is going to convince me, in light of what I've seen and in light of other individuals that I've spoken to with firsthand knowledge, that these players like Brandon McCoy would go to universities like UNLV at the urging and upon the payment by Nike, and that officials with the university and the coaching staff would not know. I think that's an absolute impossibility.
Well, I guess moving forward now, you do realize, I mean, we're talking about a lot of universities that could get sanctioned for this and be in some deep doo-doo. And you understand that. This could totally transcend and change college basketball, I think, for the better in the long run. But this is a huge situation for college basketball and quite frankly, college athletics. We all know it happens in college football, right? But now looking at some of these players, it's not the players that should be worried, because many of these players we're talking about are professional players now getting paid somewhere. We're talking about coaches and we're talking about universities. There's a lot of people that have to be shaking in their boots now, I would imagine.
Well, I think so, but I also think that, a lot of people just think that this is business as usual. And look, let me say this. My personal belief is I don't have a problem with players getting paid. In fact, I think players should be paid. I think players are taken advantage of by the system. Yep. I think you've got big schools like UNLV, Oregon, and others from around the country, Duke, et cetera, and they take advantage of these players. These colleges and these universities are getting rich off these players' backs. Let's be frank about it, okay? And coaches are as well.
Right.
I mean, Coach K would not demand the salary that he demands and would not have the exposure and the endorsement deals that he has, but for the players.
Oh, I agree.
So these players should be paid, but they
agree.
need to be paid, in my view, under a structure in an organized fashion, and there has to be rules relating to compensation, unless you want to turn colleges into professional teams, and I don't think we want to do that. No. But what you cannot have is, you cannot have a private corporation, multi-billion-dollar corporation, whose sole purpose is to make more money, right, more millions for their executives and their shareholders, dictating what players go where to universities across the country. And that's effectively what you have. Sure. What you have is this wizard, if you will, like in The Wizard of Oz, and the wizard is known as Nike. And the wizard determines which player goes where and why. And the wizard is not determining, Nike is not determining to send the best players that they have in their pocket to Adidas schools or Under Armour schools. They are effectively controlling by way of almost a draft, a hidden draft, where these players play professional basketball in the United States, and that's not appropriate.
So let me ask you this question in regards to Nike, if you can answer. Obviously, you're saying that you're innocent, and you're saying that you did not bribe Nike. With that being said, why is it you think that they would make this up about you? Do you think it is because they want to make you out to be the bad guy, they want to trash you and make this story go away, which obviously it's not going away? Why do you think that they would do this and put out all this false information that you allege? Explain that to me.
Well, I'm going to say what I've said repeatedly since this story first broke and since my arrest in late March, and that is that I think that Nike and its lawyers determined very quickly that they could not control me, and they were right about that. They could not control me, and that I have a significant public platform that had built up over time, and that I had the ability to bring truth to and the facts to what really had happened in this situation. And they're not used to being confronted with that situation. And so as a result of that, they've done everything they can to undercut me, to discredit me, take my legs out from underneath me, kneecap me, whatever term you want to use, in an effort to try to discredit me and kill the story. And it's not going to go away. Look, if I get hit by a bus, leaving the studio tonight, there's probably a bunch of your listeners that are hoping that I do. There's probably more hoping that does not happen to me. This thing's not going away.
We'll say 7:30.
It's not going to change. It's not going to change the facts of what has gone on here. And there's too many people involved in this, guys. There's too many people around the country. There's too many AAU coaches. There's too many players that took money. There's too many college coaches that knew about it. You're not going to be able to cover this thing up forever.
And in a situation like a Zion Williamson, where apparently he was paid a significant amount of money by Duke, I don't know what that number is, but shoe deals, long-term shoe deals end up involved because Nike is involved. What you mentioned a draft. What is the highest number you've heard of a player getting paid to attend a school?
Well, I mean, I've seen numbers, north of $100,000.
Wow.
And it wouldn't surprise me if there's some instances of a couple $100,000 or $300,000 to go to a particular school.
Do you think that any athlete at any point in the last 20 years has been paid over $1 million by Nike to attend a school?
No, I'd be surprised because I just don't think that it was necessary for Nike to pay that number. Right, I think that they were able to buy off these players and bribe these players with amounts far less than $1 million.
So we're gonna take some phone calls at the bottom of the hour, but I will take one phone call now in regards to this subject because we're going to switch subjects. So let me take a quick caller now. Question about UNLV. Let's go to Scott. Scott, you're on with Michael Avenatti. How are you?
What's up, Scott?
Good. I appreciate you guys talking about this. Michael, when you talk about the payments or just in general, do you think these players are paid with untraceable debit cards? How does the money get to them? That's
Good question.
The question I have.
Good question. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, the majority of the payments are routed either through managers or intermediaries. I mean, in one instance, cash was literally flown from Los Angeles to Phoenix and given to the player's mother. So a lot of these transactions are actually in cash dollars, greenbacks, if you will, that are given to the player or the player's family or somebody around them so that they're not directly traceable. But I will tell you that based on the evidence that I've seen and that we have turned over and that we have exposed, this wasn't a very sophisticated operation in that at least it wasn't sophisticated enough to avoid some trace of these payments. And that ultimately will be the undoing, I think, as it relates to this bribery scandal.
Scott, I hope we answered that question for you.
Thank you for your feedback.
All right. Thank you, Scott. If you have a question about UNLV, we'll take your calls, but we want to take some calls coming up at the bottom of the hour. All right, let's have a little bit of fun here. Let's switch topics a little bit. You're not afraid to go at anyone on Twitter, and what I don't understand are the people that go after you on Twitter. For example, yesterday, Meghan McCain, right? Listen, I'm not going to defend Meghan McCain. We all know why she's on The View. It's because of her father, and I don't know what she's ever accomplished in her life, and you've pointed that out on social media.
Nothing. I'll answer that. Nothing.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. So she's trying to diminish what's going on at the border with these kids that are in border custody, and she's trying to diminish that and talking about her father and talking about how he was tortured because some people are saying these kids are being tortured, and actually I would agree with that when you consider what's going on there. So she decides to go after you in regards to some ongoing litigation that you have with some of your cases. Whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty, I don't know. So she decides to go after you. You're going after her. Explain to me this whole situation.
Well, I mean, let me say a couple of things. First of all, anyone that has followed me at least closely over the last 18 months knows this about me or should know this about me. I rarely, if ever, throw the first punch.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you throw a punch at me or if you come for me, I'm going to deliver many, many more in return. And that's just how I'm built, and I've always been built that way.
So she went after you first.
So just to be clear, okay, there's a long history here. There's a history with Alyssa Milano, there's a history with her, and there's a history with others. And so you can't just look at what just happened. I will tell the story. I mean, it's a brief story. First time I went on The View, I was there, had a very good time on the show. Before the show, I made it a point to go up to Meghan, and we talked briefly, and I told her how much I respected her father. And I considered her father to be an American hero.
As do I.
And that even though I disagreed with him on a number of policy positions, I always had the utmost respect for John McCain. And that it was a pleasure to meet her. I was nothing but kind to her, okay? On a subsequent appearance or two, same approach to Meghan McCain. I've never said a cross word to Meghan McCain about anything, even though I've disagreed with a number of her statements and I thought she was out of line on some things, okay? Now, fast forward to November of last year. I'm arrested on these absolutely fabricated, bogus allegations of domestic violence, which resulted in no charges, despite 3 or 4 investigations. As soon as I'm arrested, Meghan takes an opportunity to go after me and start calling me a scumbag and a number of other things on national television. I did not respond at the time because it wasn't an appropriate time to respond. Then fast forward to this March in connection with my arrest related to the Nike case and other things. She does the same thing again to me on national television. I did not respond, okay, because I pick my moments.
So she said something on The View about you.
She said a number of
things,
malicious, vicious things about me on The View, and finally I'd had enough. And so as a result, I decided to respond in connection with her ridiculous statements of what's going on at the border, of which she knows practically nothing about.
First of all, can I just interject? First of all, you're right. She interned, I believe, on The Tonight Show. She's done nothing else in her career, and now all of a sudden she's broadcasting on The View. Now, I agree with you. Her father is a hero, and every single time Donald Trump attacks John McCain, it is utterly disgusting. It's disgusting.
Well, I wish he would stop attacking John McCain for a number of reasons. Number one, John McCain is a hero. And number two, every time he attacks John McCain, we have to hear from Meghan McCain.
Yeah, which so it's getting old after a while.
Right. It's exhausting.
You know, yes. Michael, at what point are the things that she says considered libelous or slander?
Well, it's interesting that you raise that, because I think that she's certainly either crossed the line or is almost crossed the line in connection with statements that she made about me, especially as of late. And look, you know, if Meghan McCain, Alyssa Milano, and others, if they can't stand the heat, then they need to get out of the kitchen. I mean, if they can't, look, and this is the same thing for Ben Shapiro and a bunch of these other, you know, individuals on the right who claim that they're so tough on Twitter and social media. It's a bunch of nonsense. You know, you start calling these people out and they don't know what to do because they're not used to it. They're not used to people on the left hitting back and hitting back hard. And that is one of the reasons why I've become a very divisive figure over the last 18 months. Because a lot of people on the right don't know what to do with me because they're not used to having people on the left that hit back.
It's almost like they just bandwagon together and they attack you, and then when challenged, they can't step up to the plate. It just doesn't make any sense.
Look, you were always on friendly terms with Alyssa Milano, and she did the same thing when it came to those types of allegations. She's never apologized to you, and you've gotten it even yesterday with Ben Shapiro, not to be confused with Brian Shapiro. That's happened a few times. I wish I had his money. He's certainly a very wealthy man, and he's extremely intelligent. But this is another thing I don't understand about him. You know, you've challenged him to a debate, and he wants to attack you for alleged, you know, crimes that you've committed, which you've never been convicted of anything. You're still a lawyer. You're still never convicted of anything. And Ben Shapiro's a smart guy. He knows that. Yet he still jabs at you and pokes at you. And then you respond basically by saying, why don't we debate on the air? Crickets. Nothing. I hate to bring up Chachi. Okay, Scott Baio, because the guy, like what, he hasn't done anything in like 20 or 25 years, and he called us desperate, by the way, on Twitter, which is incredible because
But he has done more than Meghan McCain, to be clear.
That is true. That is true. He was Chachi.
That
is
can't
true.
be denied.
But there's another guy who refuses to debate you, and he gave me excuse after excuse. And then when he said you were a piece of crap, I'm kind of paraphrasing. That's what he said about. And I posted it, because I wanted to show people this is what he says about you. Then why is he mentioning you? He says that you plagiarized against him when the comment of "Make America America Again" because he brought it up at the Republican National Convention in 2016. This is what I don't understand about some of these people. If they think you're irrelevant, which clearly you're not, but if they think that you are, then why are they bringing up your name on social media? Why are they talking about you? Don Jr. just brought your name up on social media the other day. He continues to bring your name up. Why is it that these cowards continue to bring your name up on the right, but yet they keep saying, well, he's irrelevant? Well, stop bringing his name up then. It makes no sense to me.
Well, not only that, though, but, you know, look, to all the people out there, by the way, on Twitter, don't come on my feed and call me irrelevant. You look like a moron, okay? If I'm irrelevant, what the hell are you doing on my feed, all right? Here's the other thing. Don't come on my feed and tell me that I should delete my account, that nobody cares what I say, or that I'm irrelevant when you have like 30 followers, okay? If anybody wants to come on my feed that has more followers than I do and tell me that I should delete my account or I'm irrelevant, I get it. No problem.
These are probably people that follow you, too.
Yeah, exactly. If I'm irrelevant, what the hell are you doing following me?
How many people have you had to block on social media?
I've got, I think I looked the other day, I think I have like 12,000.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm serious.
Have you had death threats?
Oh, I've had numerous death threats. All kinds of crazy shit has gone on with people, you know, coming to my residence or the my family member residences. I had to have a security detail at one time. I mean, there's a lot of vitriol, a lot of crazies out there.
I would imagine when you're representing Stormy Daniels, you knew that, your voice was going to get out there. And did you ever imagine in your wildest dreams that it would get and escalate to the place that it has become now, where you've had so many haters out there, so many whack jobs out there, and so many people that are out to get you, not just legally, just on social media? I mean, did you ever think that we would get to this point?
No, I didn't. I mean, I didn't expect the level of exposure, and I certainly did not have an appreciation for the level of hatred. I mean, even you've seen it since our association. You and I have talked about it off the air. You've never seen anything like it. The average person out on the street has no idea the things that people attempt to do relating to trolling me or spreading false rumors, et cetera. And people say, well, it goes with the territory. And you know what? They're right. It does go with the territory to a point. But look, here's the other thing. To all, Jacob Wall, I know you're listening because you're so obsessed with me, by the way.
Tell people who that guy is.
Well,
real quick,
he's an absolute nobody. He's a right wing. I don't even know if he's 20 years old.
He's a nut job.
He's a nut job.
He emailed me. Yeah.
He's fabricated claims against Bob Mueller. I mean, this guy is on borrowed time with some of the stuff that he's done. And I am confident he's not ultimately going to get away with it. But look, just so you know, everybody, separate apart from coming on my feed and telling me I'm irrelevant, don't call my cell phone from a number that I do not recognize, okay? I mean, I know you keep trying to do that, hoping that I'll pick up. I'm not going to pick up. Don't use the app anymore that allows you to mimic a phone number when it's really not your phone number. That's not going to work.
People need to get a life.
Right. I mean, who is sitting around with this much time on their hands?
It's incredible.
Figuring out a way to troll.
There are people that are obsessed with you. They have pictures with you, and all they do is they trash you all day. And I'm thinking to myself, what do you do for a living? Why don't you worry about I find, Michael, it's people like that obsess about people like you are usually the ones that have the most problems in their own life, and they're angry with their own life, and they just want to put it and push it on somebody else because it makes them feel better. And it's sad, really, and social media kind of fuels that fire. It really does.
A couple weeks ago, I'm flying back from somewhere. I was beat. It'd been a long few days, and I fell asleep on the plane, okay? Last week, a picture surfaces of the person that was sitting next to me, takes a picture of me asleep on the plane with my mouth open.
Are you serious?
Okay, and post this to social media, right? So now I can't even go on a plane and doze off without some idiot taking a picture.
I can't even imagine
posting it on social media. What, am I not allowed to sleep on planes now?
When you're out that's a good point. I wanted to ask you that. When you're out in public, just I don't know, you're at a fast food place or whatever. Do you have regularly people come up to you?
Yeah, all the time. And
what do people say to you?
No, a lot of people are very nice. A lot of people come up, they introduce themselves, they shake my hand, they want to take a picture. I have never turned down a single request for a picture. No matter, even if I've been rushing a place or anything else, I've never turned down a single request in 18 months, and I've probably taken, thousands of pictures.
You've never had anyone come up to you and threaten you?
Oh, no. Well, that's happened a couple times, but the one pet peeve that I have is, I probably shouldn't even say this because now, Jacob and his band of merry men will try to do this. The one pet peeve I have is if I'm sitting someplace or standing somewhere and I look over and someone is surreptitiously taking a picture or video of me, that drives me crazy.
Well, Michael, what we wanted to do tonight is we wanted to take you to one of the strip clubs and then sell some pictures to TMZ.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, we wanted to sell some pictures to TMZ, but we didn't think you'd go for it. Now, if you're just joining us, I'm just kidding. Michael Avenatti joining us in studio. I'll tell you what we're going to do because I want to take a bunch of phone calls next segment. So the number to call, and listen, if you're respectful to Michael, you can ask him anything you want. Doesn't mean Michael's going to answer it, but we'll keep you on the line. If you want to ask him a question, feel free. We'll open up the phone lines at 702-257-5396. If you have a question for Michael Avenatti, give us a buzz, 702-257-5396, and we will take those questions coming up in the next segment. We also have a lot to get to as far as the news of the day, and we have a few minutes here before we go to break. Quickly, what were your thoughts when you saw that Robert Mueller is now going to testify, and there's a date set in a few weeks? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my initial thought was it's about time. It should have happened a long time ago. The reports or the initial report of his findings was issued in late March, and here we are in late June. So I don't know why it took the Democrats this long to finally get him to come to Capitol Hill. But, better late than never. But, look, I'm going to predict that this is going to be a letdown. I think that a lot of people are going to build this up to be something that ultimately it is not. Bob Mueller's a very bright guy. He's got a lot of experience. I don't think he's going to be dropping a bunch of bombshells. And, I think he's going to be trying to play it down the middle of the fairway, as they say, and he's going to try not to be political, which in my view is ridiculous. I mean, this is obviously political by its very nature. I think he's going to be trying to avoid answering questions outside the scope of his report, which, again, I don't think is appropriate. I don't think that pays adequate credence to the importance of Congress as a check and balance on the presidency, et cetera. I think he ought to answer whatever questions are asked of him, frankly, unless there is an absolute reason as to why he can't answer it. But my expectations, unfortunately, are not very high. I do want to touch on one thing that you said relating to these.
We got about 30 seconds.
These callers, real quick, okay?
Yep.
Do not call in here and ask details or ask me questions about the pending charges against me, because I'm not going to answer your questions. Not because I don't want to answer your questions, but because I am restrained. I cannot answer them. There's a bunch of reasons for that. And even if I could answer them, I wouldn't answer them, because why am I going to give away my defense on radio?
And quite frankly, I don't think that's good radio to have an open litigation on a case. That's stupid. But feel free to give us a buzz. You heard what he said. 702-257-5396. Again, we'll take your calls with Michael Avenatti coming up next. 702-257-5396. Take a break. Be back right after this. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. We have Michael Avenatti in studio. Every Wednesday, it's going to be In the Ring with Michael Avenatti on the Vegas Take from 7 to 8, but he has been so gracious to join us in studio for the entire show today, and we're taking your phone calls at 702-257-5396. All right, we got all these callers that are ready to get into the ring with you. Here we go. You ready? All right. All right, let's start with Sean. Sean, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you?
Hey, good. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure. What's on your mind, Sean?
So, Mike, I can't help but feel for your position you're in. We have a lot of similarities. We're relatively the same age. We're divorced guys. We have kids. And, I know admittedly you're in for the fight of your life, as you've indicated. And so, similarly for me, I just got through with the fight of my life. I was diagnosed with cancer and had a 35% chance to live, and that was 3 years ago. And thankfully, I'm still here.
We're happy to hear that, Sean.
Amen.
Yeah,
amen, brother.
Thanks, guys. So, Mike, I can't help when I hear all this stuff and know what you're up against. That for me, I found strength and every single second that I could give to my kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, instead of being...
Sean, I don't mean to cut you off. I want to keep you going here, but we have a lot of people on hold. So do you have and I'm not trying to be rude. Do you have a question? Get to a question, please. Thank you.
I apologize.
That's okay. Go ahead, Sean. That's all right. Sean. That's all right.
Setting it up to the question.
It's okay, Sean. Yep, go ahead.
So
a great
the question is, Mike, do you think your time could be better spent rather than debating people on the phone or being in studio and radio, knowing that you're up against the fight of your life, and then just spend it with your kids, like take them out for an ice cream?
All right. Well, first of all, I take offense to that because we like the fact that he's in studio, Sean, but we'll let Michael answer the question. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, I mean, first of all, bravo for you, beating cancer. And, I have my utmost respect for you and that fight that you've had to go through. There's no question that, this is a trying time in my life. It is a significant fight. You have limited options when you find yourself in a situation like this. And I've decided to fight these charges. And I'm confident that I'm going to be able to overcome this. But, of course, I have a new appreciation or a newfound appreciation the last few months for spending time with my family and my friends. You really find out who your friends are when things like this happen. Okay,
right about
you go
that.
from having 1,000 friends to 10 friends.
That's a good point.
And look, I think I'm doing a pretty good job right now of balancing all of the demands on my time and the things I need to be focused on.
All right, fair enough. 257-5396. Go to Aaron. Aaron, you're on with Michael Avenatti. What's up?
Hey, guys.
What's up, Aaron?
What's up, Aaron?
Tonight?
Good. What's up, Aaron?
I wondered if I could ask you about the hush money and something about Don Jr. But first, if I could, in the Vanity Fair, article, you said you flew too close to the sun. Can you tell me what you meant by that?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I mean, what I said was I used a metaphor, the myth of Icarus, in that at times, at times perhaps I took some risks over the last 18 months that I shouldn't have taken in retrospect, and maybe I would have done some things differently. I will say that in light of everything that's happened and the tremendous amount of pressure and exposure that I have been put under over the last 18 months, I think that I handled things relatively well. I'd like to see a lot of people handle things differently or better, if you will, than I did. I don't think there's a lot of people that could have done that. So that's what I meant. What I did not do was I did not refer to myself as Icarus. I was talking about the myth of Icarus, but of course, Emily Jane Fox took it upon herself to do everything she could.
Can I comment on that? I think that, first of all, I think that was a hit piece, number one. Number two,
question.
I asked Emily to come on the show. She declined to. I said, why would these women that are unnamed women come forward now? As opposed to way before. Why would they decide to come out now? She refused to come on the show. In my personal opinion, that was a hit piece, and it was shameful. 257-5396. Let's go to Ricky. Ricky, what's up?
Ricky. How you guys doing today?
Doing good, Ricky.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Ricky. What do you want to ask Michael?
Hey, I just, I guess kind of two parts. As you had mentioned, you had talked a few times before that you felt like your Stormy Daniels, you felt like that's when the government really came down on you. Now the government's kind of mentioned that that they started the investigation before all this came through. So
that's not true.
First question is,
let me interrupt you right now. Okay, that's just not accurate. And I'm looking forward to the trial in these cases because we're going to show that that's just not accurate. Because the evidence is going to show that the criminal investigation into me began in the latter part of last year. And I started representing Stormy Daniels in February of last year, and I became a threat to the President of the United States in the spring and the summer of last year, and many people thought I was the biggest threat in the country to the President of the United States' ability to gain re-election. And if you doubt me on that, you can go and take a look at Steve Bannon's comments on Bill Maher in June or July of last year. There's no question that I became a significant threat. And if anybody that is listening thinks that I would be in the same position I am today, but for the fact that I became the president's biggest threat, I've got a bridge to sell you because it's completely bogus, that argument. It's just not accurate. So
Rick,
I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Go ahead, Ricky.
oh yeah, no problem. And then my second question, obviously faced with a lot of jail time, are you concerned that there might not be avocado toast in jail?
All right, Ricky. Have a nice day. See you later, Ricky.
For the record, that to the people out there that love avocado toast, God bless you. Some of you are my friends. I do not like avocado toast.
You know what's amazing, Michael? This guy, Ricky, who just calls in, right? He had all day to think of a question to ask you.
I think it's kind of funny.
I like avocado, though.
You do? Well, I mean, I like avocado. I just don't necessarily like it on toast. But
I've never had it before.
I'm not concerned about missing out on avocado toast. That's the least of my concerns.
What is it they do behind bars? Grilled cheese on the radiators? That's what I hear. I don't know. I learned that from The Sopranos. Anyway, 257-5396. Let's go to Adam. Adam, what's up? Adam, you're on with Michael Avenatti. How are you?
Please never. And I know how to treat unbelievable.
Okay, Adam. You might want to listen when you call into a radio show. It's just an observation. You were on hold for 15 minutes. Let's go to Puny. Am I pronouncing that name right? Puny. Okay, Puny. Thank you for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you?
Good. Actually, it's Tooney with a T.
Tooney. Okay, I apologize.
Yes,
Tooney. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, this was a question about as far as the Nike scandal goes.
Yes.
I noticed that, for example, UCLA football, they went from Adidas to Under Armour.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just started sucking after that. Do you think there was some kind of scandal there?
Yeah, I don't have any knowledge of anything related to UCLA or any football program, so I really can't comment on that.
Sorry, Tooney. We tried to answer that question for you the best we could, but we appreciate the call. Thank you very much. 257-5396 is the number to call. Again, 257-5396. I believe George is next. George, you're on with Michael Avenatti. How are you?
I don't have any knowledge.
Lower your radio, please, George. George, there's something in radio called a 5-second delay. George, you're on the air with us. You're on with Michael Avenatti. Are you there, sir? Okay, let's let George go. Folks, there's
This
something.
has gone really well so far.
Let's go to Elle. Elle, thanks for calling in the Vegas Take. How are you?
Hey, Al.
Hi, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you for answering
Michael.
promptly. We appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay, Michael, I'm going to have to disagree with you on the outcome of the Mueller for Congress. Reason being, that report out, the president and all of his cronies have been trashing this man. I mean, basting him, saying he didn't write it and he's lying and all of this. I think this is a good time to get up and speak up for himself. He doesn't have to do it politically, but
I'm sorry, Elle, we kind of lost you there, but we'll still get Michael respond.
Yeah, look, I think, Elle, I think you make a good point, and I think that to the extent that it will allow the American public to view Bob Mueller, in the flesh and see how he conducts himself and holds himself and how he answers questions, I think you're absolutely correct, because the Trump administration and Trump himself have spent the better part of 2 years trashing this guy and demonizing him. So I think you make a very good point. My point in what I said earlier is that I think that expectations may run a little too high, and there will be a natural letdown if that happens. Now, I hope it does not happen, but at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is if Speaker Pelosi and the other Democrats in leadership actually decide to do the right thing, the thing that should be done, and that is to open up an impeachment inquiry, period. And time is a-wasting.
Do you think that he knows the report inside and out? I'm talking about Robert Mueller.
Oh, I think he has
to.
I think he's quite the professional. I mean, do I think that he's memorized every page? I mean, it's 400 pages. No, of course not. But I think he's going to be prepared for his testimony.
Yeah.
But, whether he is prepared to go beyond the report and actually answer questions is something entirely different. I hope he comes as an open book.
257-5396. We have one phone line open. Questions for Michael Avenatti. Let's go to Robert. Robert, how are you?
Oh, hi, good, thanks. It's debate night in America, I guess.
That's right, Robert. All right, what do you got for Michael?
Hey, Michael, you said that Don Jr. would be indicted by 12/31, and that if we doubted you, to look at your predictions, and then you wrote, "I'm winning." Do you still stand by that prediction?
Well, I don't recall saying I'm winning, but I did predict that Don Jr. would be indicted by 12/31, and I think that ultimately history is going to show that I was right and that there was a sealed indictment with his name on it. It may not have been filed for various political reasons, but I think that history is going to show that I was right about that. But let me say this. I'd like to hear the other predictions that I've been wrong about in the last 18 months. A lot of people have taken to social media and claim that my predictions don't come true and I don't have credibility relating to what I've predicted. Well, you know what I have to say to that? Bullshit. My prediction rate has been off the chart, probably 96, 7, 8%. Why do you think MSNBC and CNN and all these other networks had me on? Why do you think that the Stormy case stayed in the news for the better part of 8-9 months? It wasn't because I was predicting stuff that never came true, everybody.
No, your track record's pretty good with predictions. 257-5396. Let's go to Brad. Brad, what's up?
Hey, Brad.
Oh, hey, I love your show.
Thank you.
And Michael, thank you for taking these questions. We really appreciate it.
Speak up a little bit, my friend.
And I'll just combine them together. One is, are all your charges federal charges? And two, with the amount of discretion and political pressure, and you run in those circles, you exposing yourself like that with all those U.S. attorneys and with all that, discretion that they have, in hindsight, I mean, really, was it worth the risk?
Well, first of all, to answer your first question, you're correct. All of the charges that have been brought by me have been brought on behalf of Donald Trump's Department of Justice at the federal level, so that's number one. Number two, as it relates to your second question, here's how I'll answer that. I'm going to answer it more globally because I need to be careful what I say. A lot of people ask me now whether it was worth it to take on the Stormy Daniels representation and really put myself out there and expose myself. Was it worth it at the end of the day? And, I think I would answer that probably, but it's a very close call at this point. It depends on when you ask me that question. I've given up a lot. I've sacrificed a tremendous amount people don't really have an appreciation for that. They think that a lot of people think I got paid to go on CNN or I got paid to go on MSNBC. It's nonsense. They don't pay you to go on those shows. All the notoriety in the world doesn't necessarily keep the lights on. It doesn't pay the bills. I took on the Stormy Daniels case not to become famous because I had no idea the way that it was going to blow up, frankly. I just didn't. No one could have predicted it. I certainly didn't take it for the money because there wasn't that much money in it, frankly. In fact, I ended up losing millions of dollars as a result of taking the case. I took it for the right reason, and that is because it was the right thing to do. She needed somebody to advocate for her. I think I did a remarkable job of that, and because I'm a patriot, and I wanted to expose this president for what he is.
Let's not forget, though, Stormy Daniels did make a $100 payment to you, so that's a cable bill.
That's a serious retainer.
That's something. 257-5396. Let's go to Chuck.
Before we go to Chuck, let me also say this.
Yes.
All these people that have criticized me for the way that I handled that case and the way that I used the media and how often I was in the media and public relations, look at all of the other president's accusers, even the most recent one, which I know we're going to get to later. Look how much exposure they got, and then compare that level of exposure to what Stormy Daniels has received and what her cause has received and how America views her. And then ask yourself, what's the difference? And let me also give you this stat. A lot of people don't realize this. Between the filing of the case in early March and October of last year, do you know how many domestic TV interviews that Stormy Daniels did in the entire United States during that entire time period?
How many?
2, maybe 3.
Wow.
Okay, there was the 60 Minutes piece at the end of March, and then she basically did not do another domestic television interview until October. That was not an accident, okay? I was on point, advocating on her behalf, making sure that her cause stayed fresh and relevant, and continuing to bring pressure to bear, and ultimately that led to the indictment and the conviction of Michael Cohen.
Absolutely.
And also ultimately led to Donald Trump being identified as individual number one.
There is no question you are one of the main reasons why Michael Cohen is behind bars right now. No question.
And so there was a reason for that strategy. Now, look at Miss McDougal. I mean, and some of your listeners are like, who? Because they don't even know who she was, despite the fact that she got paid, despite the fact that she had a much longer personal relationship with Donald Trump, a much more intimate personal relationship with him.
And she's a former playmate, by the way.
And look, the list goes on and on. This wasn't some accident. We didn't just, fall into this. I mean, there was a strategy that was used, and it was a detailed strategy, and a hell of a lot of work and thought went into this.
Yeah, no doubt about that. We have a lot of people on hold right now. I'm going to try to squeeze in one more call before we go to break. Let's go to Chuck. Chuck, you're on with Michael Avenatti, sir.
Yeah, I got a 3-part question. First, on who's representing you, what firm, and have they done other high-profile cases that we may know about? And where's the venue?
Well, the Nike case is venued in New York, and I'm very fortunate. A lot of attorneys have offered to represent me at significantly discounted rates, et cetera, for a number of reasons. I've been very fortunate. Most people don't have that opportunity that find themselves in this spot, and so I'm blessed in that regard. But I'm represented by a guy by the name of Scott Swebnick down in Miami, and another gentleman by the name of Jose Quignon out of Miami. Who are two very experienced, highly qualified criminal defense counsel, and I'm very fortunate to have them at my side.
Chuck, quickly, one more quick question, then we got to go.
Yeah, on the debate tonight, what 3 or 4 questions? They're going to have softball questions. What 3 or 4 Q&A would you throw at them that they're not going to throw at them?
Well, I don't know about the specific questions because I haven't thought about this, Chuck. But here's what I will say. Look, first of all, there's too many people in the race. There's just too many people in the race at this point. A number of the candidates need to drop out and pursue perhaps other races. For instance, Beto O'Rourke, no shot of beating Donald Trump. I'm sorry for the O'Rourke supporters out there, but no shot. I wrote an op-ed some time ago. I explained the guy doesn't like to get his uniform dirty. He cannot go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump. He just can't.
And I want to get to that. I'm sorry to cut you off, Michael. I want to get to that when we come back. I want to ask you, who are some of the candidates that you look at on the Democratic Party that you think have a chance to beat Donald Trump. And I will say this, too. Our phone lines are completely jammed right now. They are full. Do you mind if we take a few more calls on the other side of the break?
Let's come back and deal with this, and then we'll take some more.
Okay, good. Sounds good. Let's do that. Okay, so we have Evie, Tim, Sharon, Pam, Nasser, Jessica, John, Mark. They're all on hold. You guys have been waiting for a while. We will get to you. Remain on hold. I promise we will. We're going to take a quick break. Michael Avenatti in studio, and I will ask him who he is supporting for president, if anybody, in 2020 when we come back. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDWN.
This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Come on, guys!